All right, so here we are with our sentences, okay? So we just start off simply with our subjects and our predicates. A subject, is the person, place, or thing that the sentence is about, and the predicate is the verb that modifies the subject, so the action or the state of being that the verb or the subject is doing, right? We've been doing this all year long. So we see that both subjects and predicates will have a simple, complete, and compound. A simple subject is just the noun or pronoun that names the person, place, or thing. So who, what the sentence is about, who or what the sentence is about. Okay? So the small, shaggy dog barked loudly. Okay? So we see here that the sentence is just simply about the dog. And that's the simple subject. So the complete subject would be the noun that the sentence is about and any of its adjectives or modifiers, okay? So, and it includes the simple subject. So again, we see the small shaggy dog barked loudly, okay? We see again that the simple subject is dog, but the complete subject is the small shaggy dog. That is our complete subject because it includes all of the modifiers, right? The small shaggy, all of the adjectives that describe the dog, and the dog is also included in there, right? Because that is the subject. So that is a complete subject. A compound subject is when there is more than one person, place, or thing doing the same action. The small dog and its owner walked through the park. Here, the simple subject would be dog and owner. The complete subject is the small dog and its owner. The small describing dog, it's describing owner. The and is included because it tells you that there's more than one. Okay, so that is our subjects. Predicates are pretty much the same because it's just the verb phrase that the subject is doing is the simple predicate, right? So his friends were racing their bikes on Main Street. The verb phrase here is were racing. And that's just your simple predicate, right? That tells you what they were doing. A complete predicate is the verb or verb phrase along with all of the modifiers or complements or objects, right? It tells you how or where or when they were doing something. So his friends were racing, that's our simple predicate, their bikes on Main Street. That's our complete predicate because it tells us the verb phrase along with all of its modifiers and complements and objects, right? So were racing their bikes on Main Street is the complete predicate. A compound predicate, again, is just when there's two or more actions that the subject is doing. He stopped and waited. So here, the simple predicate is stopped and waited, and then the complete predicate would be stopped and waited for his friends to finish, right? So stopped and waited, simple, complete. Stopped and waited for his friends to finish. Okay, so now we're going to look at the practice a little bit together so we can go through an example. Oops, let me edit that. Doesn't matter. Okay. Highlight the simple subject and underline the complete subject. Sequoias are a type of evergreen tree. So here we're talking about the sequoias, and I'm going to highlight that because that's the simple subject, right? That's what we're talking about. It turns out, though, that there are no modifiers. It's not telling me the tall sequoias, the large sequoias, anything like that. So really, sequoias is the simple subject and the complete subject. That's it. But number two, the enormous size of these redwoods makes them unusual. So we're talking about the redwoods, right? And what makes them unusual. We're talking about the redwoods, so I'm going to highlight that. But then the complete subject is the enormous size of these redwoods. Because we're talking about, right, the enormous size of these redwoods. We're just describing the redwood's size. So that would be the complete subject. Predicates. Here we go. Sequoias grew, same thing, highlight simple, underline complete. Sequoias grew throughout the northern hemisphere before the last ice age. Okay, so sequoias, what did they do? They grew. That's our simple predicate. How, when, where, why did they grow? They grew throughout the northern hemisphere before the last ice age. That is the complete predicate, right? Includes the simple and the rest of its modifiers. Okay. The next thing that we have is natural versus inverted order. Natural is when the verb comes after the subject. It's pretty much how we speak normally, right? We think person, action, done. However, right, so we see Niagara Falls, that's our subject, lies between Canada and the United States. The inverted order is when the main verb or the predicate or an auxiliary verb comes before the subject. Between Canada and the United States lies Niagara Falls. Here, the subject of the sentence is still Niagara Falls. That's what we're talking about, and we're telling you where it is. It lies. But you see here the verb is coming before the subject, so that is actually called inverted. These two sentences say the same thing. They're telling you where Niagara Falls is, right? They're just ordered differently. And down here, I put a little note about an auxiliary verb since we didn't quite go over them. It combines the main verb to form a verb phrase, like am, is, was, were, has, right? These are all examples, okay? Most questions, but not all, will be inverted because the auxiliary verb or a main verb will come before the subject. We're going to look at this practice a little bit together. Ready? Okay. Tell whether each one is natural or inverted. Remember, natural meaning subject then predicate, inverted meaning predicate then subject. Niagara Falls has two main waterfalls. So I see the subject here, and the predicate has. This tells me that it is a natural order. Okay? On the Canadian side is Horseshoe Falls. Here I'm talking about Horseshoe Falls, right? I'm not telling you about the Canadian side. I'm not telling you the Canadian side is large or anything. I'm telling you on the Canadian side. So what am I talking about on the Canadian side? Horseshoe Falls. And then we see the predicate is. Horseshoe Falls is. And because the verb comes before the subject, it is inverted. Now, another way to figure out if it's inverted is if you can take the N and put it at the beginning and it still makes sense, right? Horseshoe Falls is on the Canadian side. That makes sense, so that must have to be inverted. I can say see, this doesn't really make sense. Two main waterfalls has Niagara Falls. Like, I could say it like that. It's not wrong. It just sounds a little funny, okay? The next one here, we're going to look at two sentences. If it's already in natural order, you're going to rewrite it in inverted. And if it's in inverted order, you're going to rewrite it in natural. So first you have to figure out which order it is and then rewrite it. Between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario lies Niagara Falls. Okay, so here I see lies is the action. And I'm thinking, what lies? Well, Niagara Falls lies between them. Okay, so now I see that it is predicate, then subject. So this must be inverted to start. So now I'm going to make it natural. Oops. So now I'm going to make it the natural order. Niagara Falls lies between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Okay, so you will see here, now I've pretty much just taken the N, thrown it at the beginning. Let's look at this one. Next to the falls is a great place for a picnic. Okay, so I'm telling you. Okay, so here I see that the action here is once again. So I'm going to just color coordinate that, right? So is. What is? Is next to the falls is or a great place for a picnic. So here our subject is the falls. Okay. So now to switch it again, I'm going to kind of take that beginning and throw it at the end. So a great place for a picnic is next to the falls. Okay, so again, you see the very end, right, at the beginning, and then the beginning at the end. Let me just switch our size here. Let's make this more so it fits better. There we go, okay? And the last thing we're looking at is declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory. We've gone over this before. Declarative is just a statement. It just tells you something, right? You're just declaring it. Interrogative is a question, like an interrogation, ends in a question mark. Imperative is a command, ends with a period. You tell someone to do something. And exclamatory is some kind of emotion, right? This is excitement, so it ends with an exclamation point. But we can see it with anger, right, and happiness, but they would all end in exclamation points. It depends how it's written. So here, this one's really simple. You're just trying to tell me what kind of sentence it is with the correct punctuation. What is Stonehenge? It's a question, so I'm going to change my font color here. Okay, so you see this is a question, so I add the question mark in there, and then it is interrogative. Pretty simple, so that's what I'm doing for the rest of those, okay? So remember, for these to submit them, you can just copy and paste these practices into your own document, whether it is a docs or it is a slides, and you can do them. Please make sure that when you type answers, just like I did, it's in a different color font so I can see it. Do not erase the original. Okay, so like for these, do not erase, oh, sorry, wrong one. Do not erase the original. I need to see the original and then I need to see how you changed it, okay? I need to see the original and then I need to see how you changed it. So do not erase the original. And of course, as always, if you have questions, just reach out and I'll be happy to help you, okay?